why they are important, and how you can use them to get the most value out of your property and make money, which Liz and Gina from Remax Diamond Realty Guam is why we're doing this very show. Well, we've done it for like, what, 6 years now? You guys are my
it's been a while.
You guys are my real estate avenging angels right now. So okay, so last week we looked at a really interesting map, and Gina, you were saying like the shapes were all funky and one looked like possibly like a handgun or something like that. The map we've got that we're going to bring up on screen very, very shortly, this one seems to be a little bit more organized.
Well, this is an as-built map. An as-built.
Math majors would say that's a little bit like a parallelogram.
And usually, when you request for an as-built map from a surveyor, again, you would request it from a registered land surveyor. And an as-built will actually display what is on that piece of property. So if there is any structure on the property, it will be reflected on the map. It will also show how many feet it would sit from the boundary points. It'll show, are there any other impediments on the property? Is there another structure?
So this as-built map is complementary to the other map we saw originally?
Yes,
okay.
and it'll show, is there a concrete wall? Are there any issues regarding the property? So for example, when we're selling property, we normally will ask a surveyor to mark the points and also provide an as-built. So we just want to make sure that the house we're selling is in conformance with government regulations as well. So, and it would also reflect, is the neighboring property, do they have any impediments encroaching onto the subject property? So anything related to the subject property will be shown on this map.
Okay, and this is still a surveyor's got to put this together. They've got to certify it. They've got to sign off on it.
Definitely.
This one looks a little bit like it's, and we can see it right there. Obviously, this is a little bit easier to read. And Gina, I was thinking this looks almost like, because it's got these almost perfectly square
normal lots.
This looks like what you'd see if you're in the States and you fly over, you know, like you're in the mainland already and you fly over there like over agricultural property.
Exactly, they're nice square lots. So in this particular case, and when does this come up? So like if we're selling a home, most buyers these days, even if we're selling land, they want the boundary points marked. But a surveyor, you can't always assume that when you ask a surveyor to mark, like if I'm a buyer and I tell Liz, I'm willing to buy that property, but I want the surveyor to mark the boundary points. It doesn't necessarily mean he's going to give you an as-built. He'll give you a certificate, but they don't always give you an as-built. That's a little bit more work for them. You have to be specific. You have to be specific. And the reason that
I'm thinking this is also a separate charge, of course.
Well, these days, I'm finding that when they give me a quotation for my certificates, to mark the boundary points, they already know I want an as-built. So they're already including that in their service.
Oh, that's factored into the price.
But just make sure, I mean, you can't take it for granted. So as a buyer, make sure that if the survey points are important to you, you ask for it. In this particular case, the reason I asked for this, this is actually a property that we bought. And when I was looking at the home, it was really obvious to me that the fence, like if I stood and I opened the window, I can touch the fence. I could just reach out and touch the fence from the window. So I already knew that I needed to be, I needed 8 feet between where that window was and where the fence was. And I knew, you can see my arm's kind of short. I knew it wasn't, right? That's not 8 feet. So I...
Well, also you've got that wedding ring that's like 4 pounds and everything like that, so raising your arm is quite laborious, I'm sure.
Well, so when I looked at this, and we were the buyers. I was the buyer for this particular property, but in my negotiations, I knew that I would end up paying for this as-built. But I did it for my peace of mind. I did it so that I could see what I needed to do to correct this issue. And based on the as-built that the surveyor gave me, it looks like I'm going to have to demolish quite a bit of this property.
Of the wall, If you wanted 8 feet, you'd have to demolish.
I need to demolish enough to give me 8 feet.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm just going to go ahead and naively assume that the map we looked at last week, right? That's more as far as the layout of the land and the general the general concept of what the property
Right.
is, right? And where it's divided.
It was an as-built also, but that was raw land. There was
Okay.
nothing sitting on it.
Okay.
We asked for an as-built just to make sure. I wanted to know where all the dotted lines were, because I already know in my line of work, I have to start all my setbacks from the dotted line.
Now, where I was going is with this one, Gina, this shows what's built on top of it.
That's right.
Yes.
So if I make any changes to my property, if I build a second floor on top of it, if I build up, if I build out,
That's right.
if I build a extension, outside kitchen,
Extension.
whatever, how often do I have to get this as-built map regenerated, updated, modified?
Once you have one, it'll tell you if you need to make a correction to, as Gina puts it, demolish the side of the wall. Now, there's a difference. So, for example, you're going to live there for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, and you're going to build a second story. You need to know that if you're trying to get permits, you won't be able to get them. The government will also check to see, are you in compliance? And if you're not, that'll be an issue. So
I wouldn't want to build a second story on this
you
because I
wouldn't.
know I'm already encroaching
You're
into
encroaching.
the setback.
So the only way to justify that is to cure it. And to cure it, you'd have to shave
Demolish
off
it.
and demolish
Okay.
one part,
Yeah.
that
So
side of the building.
And
Right,
again,
right now, what I'm trying to figure out is how do I demolish it and retain some use of
the
some
building.
of the building? Yeah,
okay, so salvage.
I
Yeah.
want to
Is
be
a
able to
big thing.
salvage
Yeah.
part
Yeah,
of what
part
I
of it.
demolish.
Very good. Okay, I've learned so much about maps over the last 2 weeks, ladies. Thank you so much again.
It's complicated.
Yeah.
It's an unbelievable education for me and for all of our viewers, so thank you very
Yes.
much.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, and thank you guys for watching. If you would like to learn anything more about maps, just scrub back on the YouTube clip, watch it over and over and over, share it with your friends. That's what we put it up for, and we will see you guys next time.
Closed captioning is brought to you by IT&E. Explore your world.